Brian sitting over there, Brian. He was at Tottenham when I was there, and he said, I kept doing this same practice. It was like a passing drill. I loved it. It was like round the corner, back this. And he said, just, the players won't be able to see how it's linked to the game. They become good at the practice. And I thought about it, he's right. So the players were really good at the practice, but when it actually came to the game, they couldn't see the picture. They were young, they hadn't built up the library of pictures. So since then, we always tried to relate it to the game, but it's more about helping the player within the session rather than just coaching the session.
I'd start with you on this one, Simon, in terms of being a part of an academy for such a long time at Brighton and sort of having a culture across the football club. How hard within that, or is it a good thing for a coach to be able to express themselves individually when there is such a strong framework at a club?
Yeah, I think at Brighton, I touched on earlier that my time there was, there was lots of different managers that came in at 4 or 5, and with, some British, some Spanish, and I think there was always that element of, as an academy, you're always going to have to slightly evolve your players to suit the needs of the current regime at the top, and that's only normal. But I think we were encouraged to make sure that, we are, as coaches, experimenting, because, most academy coaches are also on, as all of us are, all times learning. And if you're not pushing yourself and challenging yourself to try new things, new formations, lose games, make mistakes, then you're not going to grow. And if you're not growing, then the players you're working with aren't going to grow. So I think what is key is that the principles are the same, that everyone understands, the key principles involved in the club that you're at. And that's, a way of being, and that's a philosophy for me. And there's always going to have to be room for intelligent coaching to allow individuality, whether it be coaches or players, to come through.
How do you see your role within that framework at Manchester United?
Yeah, it's very similar to what Simon just said there. I think there always needs to be a framework. There always needs to be principles that you work from. But I think Neil Bath mentioned it earlier. There's like room to manoeuvre within the framework. What I don't think you can have is people always experimenting on your teams and the players, because if they get it wrong, the players might go out the door. So you need someone and people to oversee the structure, oversee the coaching, make sure that coaching is taking place and not just session design, because there's a difference. But yeah, I think there's a framework and syllabus, you talk about, and there's like the coaching behaviours and making sure that it's not just, I mentioned it earlier, but it's not just coaching. There's a difference between coaching football and coaching players. So coaching football might be the performance element side of it. Coaching players is the development side of it. And what a framework allows you to do, or a syllabus or a game model, it allows you to work within that framework. And it's the same probably with, not to get mixed up here, Chris Ramos said this to me a long time ago, said not to confuse session design with coaching. So session design is just a session. Okay? Coaching is what happens within the session. I think sometimes people get carried away with just session design, not the coaching. The learning takes place within the session, rather than I just get good at the session. And Neil Bath mentioned that earlier as well about, he had a slide, it showed not just coaching the practice, actually coaching the player within the practice. And Brian sitting over there, Brian, he was at Tottenham when I was there, and he said, I kept doing this same practice. It was like a passing drill. I loved it. It was like round the corner, back this. And he said, just, the players won't be able to see how it's linked to the game. They become good at the practice. And I thought about it, he's right. So the players were really good at the practice, but when it actually came to the game, they couldn't see the picture. They were young, they hadn't built up the library of pictures. So since then, we always tried to relate it to the game, but it's more about helping the player within the session rather than just coaching the session.
What would you say, Paul? Do you ask your coaches to express themselves?
Yeah, definitely. You want to learn, and certainly is a bit more freedom, like in the 23s and down within the academy. You mentioned about like the philosophy of the club, and I 100% agree with that. It can be really strong, really powerful. I'm sure Ralph's going to speak about that later. But it has to come from the top. It's got to come from the top, even to the point of it pointless an academy having a real clear identity within a football club, and then appointing a manager who plays a different way or has got a different ethos about the game. So, yeah, if you're going to have any sort of identity as a football club, it has to be believed in by the owners, and then they recruit the manager off the back of that, the players, the staff, all the way down. And then within that, you can get your creativity and your freedom as a coach. And you are recruiting players who fit type of profile, whether that's, and it can start as young as you like. Because then you're looking at the type of behaviour, you've got an environment that might promote certain types of behaviours, and coaches who are really clear in the end product and what it looks like at the top.
So here's a challenge. We had a coach from, he was the head of performance, in fact, at Cambridge United, who spoke to Coach's Voice, and he talked about the challenge around recruitment of young players. So there you are in Sheffield, and Justin's got his eye on some player who's going to nick to Manchester United. Neil Bath's driving up to see him the next day. Manchester City are on the phone to him as well. How is Sheffield United, and for that matter, clubs even lower down the pecking order, going to persuade that kid to go and join them?
I'd picked up lessons and things from all my experiences. So first of all, if I related that to Barnsley in the Championship, when you're managing and you're pinching players who are going to go on loan to Leeds but they're choosing you, or Notts Forest but they're choosing you, having a clear identity in how you're going to play, identifying the player and showing him where he fits within the squad, where he fits within the 11, the role you're going to ask him to perform, how you're going to develop him, so how you're going to be good for him as well as him being good for you. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to sell the dream. Back to the development at first team level again. 3 in particular were really, really good for me, and I was delighted to get hold of them in that league, where Harvey Barnes, Ryan Kent and Adam Armstrong, who were fantastic players for us. But we had to work our socks off to get them above everyone else. And it was this is what we see in you, this is how we see you as a player, this is where you fit into our 11, this is what I expect from you, this is what you can expect from us. And take that down now into us trying to recruit players at 16, 14 in Sheffield United Academy. We have to be really clear on what we can do for them, what we can deliver for them. We're really adamant that we've got a fantastic coaching programme, and we speak about it all the time. We try and live and breathe it. And then the evidence of that is ultimately who's in the first team. So for me, the biggest selling point is you can have all the jargon you want, but there's got to be evidence, there's got to be proof. Whether that's at first team level, you're doing what you say you're doing as a manager, or first team level because you're doing what you're saying you're doing as a development coach, and we've seen the end product with your academy graduates on the pitch. How
did you sell the dream at Orient and Notts County? And would the advice that you, or the words that you used then be different now you've seen the other side of the fence at West Ham?
I think it's what Hecky's just said. You know, it was you coming to a club which is, looking forward. We're trying to get promotion. We see you within our shaping, within our formation. It was being one of our big hitters in the team. We want you to come and develop. I feel me having the experience I have in, say for a Ryan Yates, for instance, he's a box-to-box midfielder, similar to what I done. I can give you them little key things, what I used to do, George Grant was a goal-scoring midfielder who was an attacking midfielder. Why did we, both of them, I managed to be able to get hold of it quite quickly from Nottingham Forest because I was able to sell them a dream that they were working with someone who's played in the Premier League for over 400 games, and obviously they'll be a major part of my side, and I think that's a massive thing. When they're coming, they want to know that they're going to be loved. They want to know that they're going to be one of the main players, and also they want to know that they're going to walk out of your building a better player, feeling that they've been or they've made progress within their pathway.